Welcome back to Action Figure Obsession, and I had a request for Captain America Week on Action Figure Obsession. And I don't know if I've got a week's worth in me, but we'll see. I have done some Captain America videos in the past that were just talking about the ones that are in my collection. So I thought today we'd talk about Cap's best pal, James Buchanan Barnes, aka Bucky, aka the Winter Soldier. So, Captain America, this guy right here, first met Bucky when he was in World War II. He was in the Army as Steve Rogers, secretly Captain America. And we see here my World War II Captain America kit bash, which uses the shield, the World War II style shield from the Marvel Select Captain America, the last Captain America Marvel Select made before they went out of business, I think last year. But I think the Cap figure was from 2 years ago. But this Captain America, as I say, represents his look from the World War II days. So he has sort of that optimistic smile and the World War II style shield, the sort of more badge-shaped shield, I guess. And that was when Cap first met Bucky, and Bucky was a kind of the mascot of his army unit, and accidentally walked into the tent one time when Captain America was pulling off his mask, and Bucky realized that Steve Rogers was Captain America. So, as was the custom back in the 1930s and 40s, he immediately made Bucky his kid partner in the battle against Hitler and fascism. So he, enlisted this, 12, 13, 14-year-old boy, however old Bucky was supposed to be in World War II, to be his partner. And on and off, Bucky has been Cap's partner and Cap's friend for going on, good Lord, 1939, so almost 90 years now. Cap and Bucky have been besties and sometimes enemies, and there's a whole story in that. So Captain America, Steve Rogers, was presumed dead at the end of World War II. His body was frozen in the ocean, and he was stuck in an iceberg, or icicle, and basically a big chunk of ice, for a couple of decades after World War II. So the sometime in 1944 or 1945, Captain America was frozen in the ice and wasn't revived until Avengers number 4, which I think was 1963, possibly. That sound right? So he wasn't even frozen 20 years, I don't think, in comic time. But of course, the movies now have had to adjust that timeline because, of course, it's only been a few years since Captain America was thawed out, and World War II now is, 80 years in the past. That's the one of the interesting things about comics as they endure over the decades, is how they have to constantly adjust the sliding timeline. When Fantastic Four #1 debuted in 1961, both Reed Richards and Ben Grimm, Mr. Fantastic and The Thing, they both were World War II veterans, but of course, now, I don't know, what war would they be veterans of? The first Gulf War? Or, the Falklands invasion? I don't know. But, so the past is ever-changing in comics and in most popular fiction that continues to use the same characters but goes on over decades and decades. Things get retroactively updated and changed, and it's sometimes they work that into the continuity when somebody realizes, hey, this doesn't make any sense. How come this? How come that? And you find out that, somebody meddled with the timeline or something like that. But just for simplicity's sake, so Steve Rogers enlisted Bucky to be his boy partner, sort of, the Robin to his Batman, after he was walked in on, changing back into Steve Rogers from his Captain America uniform. So I do not have a Bucky figure per se, because the only Marvel Legends Bucky figure that exists was made right, I think, when Hasbro first got the license, and it is a janky, terrible mess. Look up Hasbro Marvel Legends Bucky action figure, and you'll see that it is really terrible by any standard. It was terrible by the standards of the time, never mind terrible by today's standards. So we're going to have to do a little fast forwarding, and I'm going to enlist some movie figures to help me do that. I have here two, well, one's a movie and one's a TV show, I think. Trying to remember. So here we have the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Marvel Legends, James Buchanan Barnes, a.k.a. the Winter Soldier. And this one here, these two heads both came from this figure. This is the flashback Winter Soldier from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier TV series. With the half mask, and you can see the likeness to the actor whose name is escaping me at the moment. Oh, so much stuff in my brain, and I can't remember that guy's name. It'll come to me, maybe. But anyway, so both of these heads came from this figure, the flashback Winter Soldier figure. This one came with a similar head to this. This is the original Bucky figure from, I think, 2014, something like that. These bodies are not particularly good. As you can see, they're pretty spindly and slight. That is both a factor of the movie figures being of a smaller scale than the comic book figures, but also just this figure, I think, when it was originally conceived or designed, and again, this is not the original head, but the original head is terrible, which is why I replaced it with one of the ones from the flashback Falcon and the Winter Soldier version. I'm not sure that the uniform is exactly accurate to the Winter Soldier movie. This one is from the Winter Soldier movie, but it looks good. It's got a lot of nice shading in the shirt there, as you can see. The belt's got a little bit of paint on it, I think. Yeah, a little bit of silver on the buckle there. A lot more paint would have gone a long way with this one, but you see some brass shells here strapped to his wrist. There definitely is some color variation, and it's not completely terrible. They probably used most of the paint budget for the arm. I think that, I believe that there we go. I believe his cybernetic arm is both painted silver, has been given a black wash in between the sculpted grooves, and then, of course, it has the red star, because at this point in his career, Bucky was working for the Soviet Union, the USSR. This look, this Winter Soldier look, is basically, after World War II, Bucky also was captured, but by the Soviets, and the reason why he's called the Winter Soldier is because they brainwashed him, and they put him into suspended animation in a cryo chamber, and occasionally they would thaw him out and have him go on a mission, like in the movie Civil War, when we found out that the Winter Soldier had been used to assassinate Iron Man's parents, Howard and Maria Stark. So this is the figure from, I think, 2014, I think. The original Winter Soldier figure with a new head. And then this is the updated... version from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I think it was a Disney Plus show. Somewhat improved. The head sculpts that came with him are far, far better than the ones that came with that original 2014 figure. But the figure itself, the articulation is not great, but it does look good on the stand. And I think of the two of them, the deco... Well, I do like the brighter silver. I don't know if you can see that or not. There's a little more wash. It looks brighter on screen, but I think that this one is more blue, I guess. Whereas this one is more of a true silver, with the black wash giving it a bit of a gray look. But, you know, they're not terrible figures. They are, you know, the articulation, as I say, is fairly limited. There's no butterfly joints to give you, you know, a lot of movement for the arms, things like that. But they do look nice, and for the time, these were pretty good figures. Now, there was a time, a long time in Marvel Comics, where Bucky was dead. He was not fake dead. He was not thought to be dead. The character of Bucky was dead in the minds of the characters in the universe of the comics. The character was dead in the minds of the writers and artists who drew the comics, and Bucky was dead to the fans. He was always... His death, like Uncle Ben with Spider-Man, Bucky's death was considered a sacrosanct and very important essential element in the origin of the main character, Captain America. And in fact, if you go back and you look at some of those Captain America comics from the 60s, particularly the ones that were written and plotted by Jack Kirby, or drawn and plotted by Jack Kirby with dialogue usually by Stan Lee, Captain America was always going on and on and on about the guilt that he felt for losing Bucky in World War II, and for, ever asking him to be his partner, and that guilt that he had. There was a lot of guilt in the 1960s Marvel Comics by Jack Kirby and Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. Everybody was guilty about something. Spider-Man was guilty because he let Uncle Ben's killer go when he had the chance to catch him before Uncle Ben was killed, that sort of thing. But writer Ed Brubaker and artist Steve Epting did a storyline in the Captain America comics, I think in the early 2000s, where they introduced this character, the mysterious Winter Soldier. And before long, we found out that the Winter Soldier was actually Bucky Barnes, Captain America's long-thought-dead boy partner. And these are two of the same Bucky figures, two comic book Winter Soldiers, and I believe they came out, I think, in 2018, if I recall correctly, sometime around there. It was the Crimson Dynamo Build-A-Figure wave, and I got two of them. One of them I got at a Walgreens. I forget where I got the other one. This one here is the stock, out-of-the-box comic Winter Soldier. You see now the star has changed. It's no longer the red star representing the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, but rather a Captain America-like star, because Bucky is now on the side of the Angels. This is from a time when he was acting as a super spy / superhero, doing the sort of missions that Steve Rogers probably would not do, or at least would hesitate to do. But of course, Bucky, after breaking years of that brainwashing that he experienced from the Soviet Union, Bucky didn't have too many compunctions about acting with extreme sanction when necessary. So he has as accessories his stock Marvel Legends Desert Eagle, 1911 Desert Eagle, there in his left hand. Then in his right hand he has the always gummy, always crappy, generic sort of Marvel Legends AR. I don't even know if that's really based on a real thing or not, but that's what he has. So this one, as you can see, his uniform actually pays homage to the original Bucky costume, because Bucky always had like a shirt with a collar when he was partnered with Captain America. And so this costume sort of subtly recalls his days as Bucky. The mask is similar to Bucky's, except it has, sharper edges on the domino mask instead of the rounded edges that Bucky had in World War II. I've always liked this head sculpt. It's a little soft, but I take that to be the sort of indifference and apathy that somebody like Bucky Barnes would have after all those decades of being used as an assassin and thrown back in the freezer when he wasn't needed for missions to carry out the will of the leaders of the Soviet Union. My other Winter Soldier has been zhuzhed up a little. He has equipment from Valverse Action Force. He has an AR rifle, or AK rifle, I guess an AK-74, I think, modified AK-74 from the Valverse Weapons Pack Lima that came out last year, middle of last year or so. He has the web gear to hold all the extra ammo that you could possibly want. He's good to take out a battalion or two with all the extra ammo that he's carrying on there. He's got a couple of AK magazines there on his thigh strap that came with the figure. But the web gear and the AK-74 here, and also this pistol and thigh holster, drop-down thigh holster, those are all from Valaverse Action Force, from their various, either taken from a figure or taken from one of their weapons packs. But you can see these are the same characters. The head is the same. The body is the same. The only thing that's different is what they're equipped with. And, you know, Marvel Legends, you usually can't even get into a halfway decent rifle pose, but I think that looks pretty damn good. That's why I have just left him in that pose, and I may leave him in that pose forever. And the AK-74, of course, is a nod to his formerly working for the Soviet Union, because the AK rifles were originally manufactured in the Soviet Union by a guy named Kalashnikov, which is what the K stands for. I don't really have any interest in guns at all, but you learn a lot about them if you're trying to outfit your figures with any kind of sense. So, at one point, Steve Rogers was killed during one of the Civil Wars in the comics. He was assassinated, and Bucky Barnes decided that he wasn't going to be the Winter Soldier anymore. He was going to be the new Captain America. And this is the Bucky Barnes Captain America. This one came out, I think, 2022, maybe? It wasn't that long ago. It was a replacement for the Bucky cap from around 2012 or 2014 that had gotten reused way too much by Hasbro. And this was meant to be a bigger, more modern version of the Bucky Captain America. I don't know for sure if I can believe that those are both the same face under those two masks, but it certainly is meant to be the same character. So here we have him with some stuff that he came with. He's got a knife in that sheath on his left hip, which unfortunately is designed in such a way that if I pull that knife out, it's going to be warped because of the way it bends against his hip. He has a pistol with a suppressor, and I keep that one in his hand because the same thing, the way this holster is designed, if I put the pistol in the holster and leave it there for any length of time, I've got to blow that dust off there. Yeah, there was some dust on his holster there. But if I leave him with the gun in the holster for any length of time, that gun will become warped. It is another typical, very bendy, very gummy Hasbro product. And then he has the shields that he came with, which was one of the nicer Captain America shields. When this Bucky Captain America was on sale at Ollie's for $10 each, I bought, I don't know, 5 or 6 of them just to have extras of that shield, because, believe it or not, Captain America shields are hard to come by. People don't want to sell them. Go ahead and look on eBay and see what they're going for. At some point, Sam Wilson also became Captain America, and this is one of the versions of his costume from when his time as Captain America. Next to Natasha Romanoff there on our left, his right, the Black Widow. That is the Target exclusive Black Widow from 2023, I think. And I also have another Bucky cap where he is not wearing his mask. And that actually is the unmasked head that came with these two Buckies over here. That came with the flashback Winter Soldier from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier TV series. This head was another alternate head that came with that set. So that figure came with either 2 or 3 heads, I forget. But this head being a movie scale figure, being a movie scale head on a comic-sized figure, I think it's probably 10% too small for this body. Sebastian Stan, I told you I'd remember, but the likeness to actor Sebastian Stan, who plays the Winter Soldier / Bucky in the movies and the TV shows for Marvel, I think that the intensity of that expression, I think you forgive a lot for that. That is a great, great head sculpt, maybe one of the best Marvel Legends head sculpts in terms of looking like an actor. So when I got that flashback figure, I had to get that head and put it on the Bucky cap body to see, what he looks like with it on. And I've never taken it off because that is just spectacular. I also like that when Bucky was Captain America like this, he also had the star on his shoulder, as he did when he was the Winter Soldier. So, just kind of get these guys arranged. I think I've said about Bucky that I can. Not a big fan of the direction they've taken him in the post-Endgame Marvel Cinematic Universe. He had some enjoyable scenes in the Thunderbolts movie, but I didn't particularly love that movie. It was okay, but it was a far cry from, what the Marvel movies used to be. I would have much preferred to see maybe a continuing Winter Soldier TV series where we really follow in depth what it's like for Bucky in the modern world to try to find his way, because he's a man out of time, just like Captain America. He's a man from the 1940s who has undergone some terrible traumatic treatment, and despite it all continues to try to fight for what's right, and doesn't mind getting into the gray areas, working in the shadows with his friends Natasha and Steve and Sam. But that's about all I can tell you about James Buchanan Barnes, a.k.a. Bucky, a.k.a. the Winter Soldier. Great figure, this Crimson Dynamo Wave Winter Soldier. If you're interested in a Bucky action figure, you can't go wrong with either the Bucky cap or the Winter Soldier figure from 2018 or so. Both very good figures. Bucky cap does have butterfly joints and somewhat improved articulation because it's on the Vulcan body mold. But the look, the aesthetic, and just the overall shelf presence of the Crimson Dynamo Wave Bucky / Winter Soldier, I think that makes that one my favorite Bucky, my favorite Winter Soldier in my collection. Very, very happy to have it. Very pleased with how good he looks with those little extras from Valaverse. Couldn't be happier to have him. And that is basically one of Cap's best friends, James Buchanan Barnes, the Winter Soldier, known in World War II as Bucky. And that'll start off, I guess, what might be a Captain America heavy week. We'll see what happens here on Action Figure Obsession, but I do appreciate you stopping by. And thanks to Dr. Witty Banter for asking for some Captain America videos. He's always good with the suggestions and the inspiration, and I should have taken this opportunity to show you all my Buckies a long time ago, because he is one of my favorite characters. I have a thing for characters with metal arms, robot arms, cybernetic arms, you name it, and Bucky certainly fits the bill as far as that goes. If you liked the video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification button, the notification bell, so you get notified anytime I upload something new. And if you do like the video, please share it with anyone who you think might also enjoy it. That'll do it for this edition of Action Figure Obsession. I appreciate you stopping by, and I will see you on the next one.